The NBA draft is in 2 weeks, and I'm going to give you guys 5 guys that I believe that the Atlanta Hawks should target in this year's NBA draft with picks 13 and 22. But before we get started, I want to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share, and to continue to support my channel. The NBA draft is 2 weeks away. It is almost here. One of the most underrated times of this year's the NBA season or the NBA offseason. And it's always fun. The NBA draft is always fun because you get to see where these prospects will go, as well as this is where trades happen. You know, you get the trade rumors and trade action and rumor mill time and all of that good stuff. And so the NBA draft is always a fun time for me. But with that out of the way, man, as you guys know, the Atlanta Hawks, my team, they have picks 13 and 22. So they have 2 first-round picks in this year's NBA draft, and I'm pretty excited. You know, I'm pretty excited to see what this team is going to do in the NBA draft. But I got 5 guys that I would really love for the Atlanta Hawks to target with picks 13 and 22. Now, before I start naming you the 5 guys that I have on my list that I believe the Hawks should target, I'm also going to give you 10 guys that I will not mention, in part because I don't believe that they will be at pick 13 for the Atlanta Hawks. So the 10 guys that I'm going to name that I believe will not be available at pick 13, and those 10 guys that I'm naming are obviously, I got Cooper Flag. Look, we all know he's going number 1 to the Spurs. I mean, to the Dallas Mavericks. So Cooper Flag, Dylan Harper, who I expect will go to the Spurs. You got Ace Bailey, Trae Johnson, VJ Etchcomb, Con Knipple, Kama Malawach, Jeremiah Fears, Noah Asenge, and Carter Bryant. Those are the 10 guys that I do not believe will be available to the Atlanta Hawks with pick 13. And so those 10 guys, they will not be mentioned because I don't think they will be there. And plus, plus the guys that I mentioned, I actually like some of these guys ahead of some of those guys that I project will be gone. And so bear with me. And so with that out of the way, the first guy that I'm going to mention, who I believe that the Hawks should target at pick 13, and he's one of my favorite players in this draft, make no mistake about it. But the guy I'm going to mention is Derek Queen. Derek Queen, the big man out of Maryland. Man, I love this dude. I love this player. I'm a big fan of Derek Queen. I watched at least about 8 or 9 Maryland games this past year, and this dude is incredible. Offensively, this dude has every skill set that you would want in a big man. This dude can face up near the rim. He can post up. He can handle. He can pass. He can score in the post. He's good with the dribble handoff stuff. You know, he can face you up and attack you off the dribble. He has incredible footwork for a big man. I mean, this dude he has great footwork. He can maneuver his way to the basket. He can draw fouls. He can hit pull-up jumpers. He can do everything. Derek Queen can do everything that you would want in a big man offensively. Now, the one thing he kind of can't quite do yet is shoot threes. Like, that's something that's going to have to develop with his game, you know, as he enters the league. But you know what? He even showcased a little bit of that late in the year at Maryland. And so I love this dude. Offensively, he has everything that you would want in a big man. He can play the 5. I think he can play a little bit of 4. He played with a big man when he was at Maryland, so he actually did play some 4. And so I love this dude. I love this dude. Now, look, the concerns about Derek Queen are the defense. Like, he's not the greatest. He's not that much of a rim protector. And that's going to be a drawback with him. And that might be a reason why he slips. So he slips a little bit. But you know what? If you're pairing with Jalen Johnson, I actually think Jalen Johnson would be was the ideal big next to Derek Queen. Because Jalen Johnson is one of the best rim protecting 4 men in the league. This is a guy that can come from the weak side and block shots. And so you got a guy like Jalen Johnson, who you compare with. You got Dyson Daniels, who's arguably the best perimeter defender in the league. And so you have him. Zaccharie, I think, is a good defender who's 6'9.5" to 6'10". You know, you got Mo Gay, who showed some stuff if he does have a role on the team next year. Onyeka Okongwu, I believe, is a good defender. You know, and so I look, maybe the Hawks might need another guy defensively if they draft Derek Queen, but they're kind of close to having the ideal setup for a Derek Queen. And so, look, Derek Queen defensively, like, he's not much of a rim protector. I get it, and I think that's going to be the concern with him. But I actually think defensively with Derek Queen, I actually think he's a little better than people give him credit for. Like, he's very good at getting steals. He averaged a steal a game at Maryland. And so he's really good at, you know, getting in the disrupting passing lanes, getting his hands on balls, you know, stripping dudes when they're driving to the basket. He has really good hands, you know, when it comes to getting steals. And so I think that's useful for him. And I think he slides his feet laterally a little better than people give him credit for. You know, he moves his feet laterally. You know, when he's guarding, you know, wing size dudes and even guard size dudes, like, he moves his feet pretty well for a big man. So I think defensively, look, he's definitely not the most consistent defender in the world. And that's something he's going to have to get better at. He's going to have to get better as far as, like, consistent engagement and effort. You know, and look, I think those are things that I think can get better with proper coaching and just experience and just actually just the willingness to work. But look, man, I mean, I know the defense is a concern to some people for Derek Queen, but you can't teach what this man does on the offensive end of the floor. You just can't. And if the Atlanta Hawks had the opportunity to draft Derek Queen at 13, and you compare Derek Queen with Onyeka Okongwu, Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Zaccharie, Risacher, Trae Young, I think to me, if Derek Queen is there at 13, I think the Atlanta Hawks should sprint to the podium and take him. I really do. I think Derek Queen is that physically gifted as an offensive player. And I think this team, long term, they could use a guy that can create his own shot in the half court and get a bucket on his own. And I'm talking about Derek Queen. And so, chicken wings, collard greens, turnip greens, Derek Queen at 13. There you go, Derek Queen. Now, my next guy that I want to talk about is Cedric Coward, Washington State. Washington State Cedric Coward. Now, this is a dude that's 6'5". You know, he's over 200 pounds. He has a long wingspan. I think he has like a 7'2" wingspan. He's 6'5". Cedric Coward. I like this dude. You know, this is a guy that's trending upward on draft boards. You know, he missed most of the year. You know, he got injured. You know, so he didn't play a lot. But when you watch the games that he did play, I think he played like 7 games or something. And then previously, you know, before this past season, I think he averaged like 16 a game. And so this is a guy that was productive. Granted, it was at a little bit of a lower level. But when you watch the tape and when you watch some of the highlights of Cedric Coward, this is a guy that has that prototypical build of a wing. Like, he has the prototypical skill set that a lot of these teams are looking for nowadays. Like this dude 6'5". He's a really good shooter. You know, he shot 39% from 3. You know, this past year, I think he shot like 38% the year before. And so he shoots the 3 ball well. He rebounds well. You know, he averaged nearly 10 rebounds a game, I think, one year at Washington State. I think this past season, he averaged around like 7.5 or 8. And so he's willingness to crash the glass. He can shoot the ball. He's a very good passer for a wing. And so this is a dude that can pass the ball, and look, man, he can score in the post a little bit as well. He can score in the paint for a dude who's 6'5", 6'6". And so this is a guy that's willing to play physical and defensively. Man, I mean, this dude is an animal defensively. The way he can just he can disrupt passing lanes, get steals, slide his feet. This is the prototypical wing that a lot of these teams are looking for. They're looking for, dudes like Cedric Coward. Like, they're looking for guys like that. And Cedric Coward fits that prototype. Like, I look at Cedric Coward, and if you want me to compare him to somebody, like, I'm looking at, a few years ago, I'm looking at a Jalen Williams from Oklahoma City. Like, I think Cedric Coward can be that type of wing. A Cedric, Jalen Williams type. And we seen what Jalen Williams has done for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, this is a dude that made an All-NBA team this past year. And this is a dude right now is playing in the NBA Finals. He's their second option. And so I think Cedric Coward has some Jalen Williams-like potential and upside. And he's a guy that I think he would be a worthy get for the Atlanta Hawks if he's available. And so I like Cedric Coward from Washington State. I like this dude a lot. And anyone who's paid attention to the draft, his draft stock is rising, and for good reason. And so he's another option for the Atlanta Hawks at pick 13. Now, the other guy that I'm going to talk about, and look, he might be there. This guy might actually be there at pick 22. But if he was at pick 13, I kind of wouldn't hate it either. But this guy I want to talk about Maxine Raynaud from Stanford. 7-footer, versatile big man. This dude at Stanford averaged 20 points, 11 rebounds, was arguably the best player in the ACC behind Cooper Flagg. I'm talking about Maxine Raynaud, super skilled big man. This dude can shoot the three like no other. He has a nice little stroke from the perimeter, shooting the three ball. He can score in the post. He can attack you off the dribble. He can handle the ball. Super versatile. And the one thing about the Hawks, man, I think the Hawks could use some versatility in their front court. I really do. The Hawks could use a stretch big, a guy that can shoot the ball and can handle and can attack closeouts and score in the post. And look, man, give this front court a different look opposite Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu. I'm talking about Maxine Raynaud. This dude is skilled, man. Like I mentioned Derek Queen earlier. Maxine Raynaud might be the second most skilled big man in this draft behind Derek Queen. I like this dude, Maxine Raynaud, super skilled big man. And like my comparison for him is like a Brook Lopez back in his Brooklyn Nets days. When he was averaging 20 and 10. I think Maxine Raynaud is of that same archetype. Super skilled big man. And I think just that versatility offensively and the rebounding and the way he can play on the perimeter and he can score on the post and he can pass it a little bit. It's another guy whose stock is rising as we move forward towards the NBA draft in 2 weeks. I like Maxine Raynaud a lot, man. I love his skill set. I love his versatility. And look, defensively, he ain't too shabby either, man. This is a dude that can protect the rim a little bit as well. And so I love Maxine Raynaud a lot. I like him. I'm a fan. And, look, I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch his interview with Rafael Barlow on NBA Draft Board on YouTube. Y'all should be able to check that out. Listen to his interview, with him. I think he did it about a few weeks back. This is a dude that understands his weaknesses. He understands what he needs to get better at. He understands what he wants to do to be great and to be successful in the NBA. And I believe in this kid. I believe in Maxine Raynaud. I think he's about the right stuff. I think he has the right characteristics. I think he has the right mindset. And I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. I think Maxine Raynaud will be very successful at the next level in the NBA. And look, whenever y'all get a chance, I want y'all to check out that interview with Rafael Barlow that he did with Matt Serrano. I think it was about a few weeks back. Make sure y'all check that out. And look, man, I'm in on Matt Serrano. Like his skill set offensively, his passing, his versatility, his willingness to defend and improve at all aspects of his game. I love Matt Serrano. And so he's another guy that I have on my list of guys that I think the Atlanta Hawks should target, in the NBA draft, whether it's at pick 13 or 22. And so the fourth guy I'm going to mention, Thomas Sorber from Georgetown. This is a dude that averaged 14 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. Now, he ended up getting injured too. This guy that ended up leaving, Georgetown with an injury, and he had a short little stint. But he's another guy. Physical big man, about 6'9.5", long wingspan. I think his wingspan is like 7'6", which is incredible. And so, Thomas Sorber, is another guy. Physical big man. Now, I don't think Thomas Sorber is as offensively skilled as Derek Queen or Matt Serrano. But what I will say about Thomas Sorber is is offensively. He has great feel. I think his passing for a big man is very impressive. And I think for Quinn Snyder, I think the one thing I think he's going to value when it comes to big men, and this is why I'm high on Derek Queen and Matt Serrano and along with Thomas Sorber, I think he's going to value offensive feel. Like, you got to be able to know how to play with the ball in your hands. You got to be able to make good decisions, whether it's attacking off the dribble, creating, or even just making a simple pass and read. Just do something with the ball in your hands. Like, I don't think in today's NBA you can be a center that can be a complete liability offensively. I think those days are close to being over. Clint Capella is a guy I was frustrated with as an Atlanta Hawk fan because he couldn't make layups, he couldn't pass, he was just a complete offensive liability, and I couldn't take it. And so when I look at a guy like Thomas Sorber, look, I don't think Thomas Sorber is like quite as offensively skilled, like I said, as a Derek Queen or Matt Serrano, but he can make a pass, he can make reads. I like that about him. I like his ability to rebound. I think he can finish around the rim a little bit. I like that about him. But defensively, this dude is a monster. Defensively, the way that he can protect the rim, the way that he can, alter shots. He's active. He's good in pick and roll defense. He's a good communicator. I like Thomas Sorber. I like him. He kind of reminds me of like a Wendell Carter type. Kind of, sort of, he's a little undersized, but he plays with a lot of effort and motor and intensity. And you just watch him and he gets after it. He's physical. Another guy that I think Thomas Sorber reminds me of, he reminds me a little bit of Steven Adams. Y'all, a lot of Hawk fans want Steven Adams from Houston. They wish they could have him as a free agent. Well, you know what? I think Thomas Sorber is kind of similar to a Steven Adams, like just this willingness to bang and be physical and anchor on defense and block shots. And like, I think like Steven Adams, I think Thomas Sorber can pass and make reads and find cutters and find open shooters. He's a smart player. He's a smart player that I could easily see being a guy that can impact winning, on whatever team he lands on. And so I like Thomas Sorber. He's a nice little role player. I don't know. I don't think he has the offensive upside of like I said, of a Derek Queen or Matt Serrano, but he's got us willing to do the little things. Do the little things it takes to win. And so I would not mind if the Atlanta Hawks took a chance on a player like that. I like Thomas Sorber. I like him. And so that's the fourth guy I mentioned. And the last guy that I'm gonna mention is Neat Clifford out of Colorado State. That's right, Neat Clifford out of Colorado State. He's another guy I'm a fan of. I like his game. all around do-it-all wing. He averaged nearly 20 points a game at Colorado State. This is a guy that can defend, he can shoot, he can attack the basket, he can rebound, he can pass, he can do everything at the wing position. And he's a senior, which is why he could be available in the 20s. Which is where I'm projecting that he would be. Like I'm thinking he'll be in that 22 range, where the Hawks are at. I like Nick Clifford. I like his skill set. I like his ability, like I said, to can shoot, can pass, can dribble, can rebound, can defend, can attack the basket. He can do everything. The comp that people have for him is like Josh Hart of the New York Knicks. I can see it. I can see it. I think that's a pretty solid comp. Just a guy that just gives full effort every play, willingness to sacrifice, willingness to play his role on the team. And look, I think with Nick Clifford, I think he has some offensive upside that Josh Hart didn't have. I think he's a guy that can create his own shot a little bit. He can shoot off the dribble. He can get to the basket. He can post up a little bit. I like Nick Clifford a lot, man. I really do. I like his game. I was really impressed with how he was looking for Colorado State this past year. I liked what he was doing in the tournament. Before, Colorado State ended up losing at the buzzer to Maryland and my guy, Derek Queen. Like I said, man, Derek Queen. I can't get enough of Derek Queen, man. I can't get enough of him. But, it was unfortunate to see Nick Clifford kind of go down in that tournament to Maryland, Derek Queen and all. But I like Nick Clifford, man. I like him. I think he will be a very good option at pick 22 just because of, his ability to just be an all-around player. A guy that's versatile, can play multiple positions, can score when you need him to score, can pass, can defend, can rebound, can do everything. And in this day and age, man, you can never have enough wings in today's NBA. Especially dudes that are 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", and that have a lot of length. And Nick Clifford has that prototype that every team is looking for in a wing. And so those are my 5 guys. And like I said, the 5 guys that I believe that my Atlanta Hawks should target with picks 13 and 22. Like I said, my 5 guys are Derek Queen out of Maryland, Cedric Coward out of Washington State, Matt Zaccharie from Stanford. I got Thomas Sorber out of Georgetown, the big man, and I got Nick Clifford out of Colorado State. Those are my 5 guys that I believe that my Atlanta Hawks should target in this year's NBA draft. And if the Atlanta Hawks can end up with 2 out of those 5 guys that I just named, then they would have had a very successful NBA draft. And they would have a lot more to look forward to this coming season. That's all I have for today, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.